It's time for Rabbi Minkowicz's Weekly Torah Lesson, a place where life's most difficult questions are answered. Here with his spiritual perspective and insight, Rabbi Minkowicz.
Welcome to this week's Torah Lesson. This week, we are celebrating the holiday of Rosh Hashana, so we're going to discuss about the major mitzvah of Rosh Hashana, which is blowing the shofar. And the question of the week is, what should one meditate when hearing the shofar? So as you know, the highlight of Rosh Hashana is to come to synagogue, and the mitzvah is to hear the sound of the shofar. And the question is, out of all things, in Judaism, we take a ram's horn, we blow it, we make a sound, and that's Rosh Hashana, hearing the shofar, and that is the mitzvah. And the question is, what is so significant about hearing the sound of the shofar? So the Baal Shem Tov, who is the founder of mysticism, explains it with an analogy. And the Baal Shem Tov says, there was once a king that had a son, a prince, and he wanted his son to learn the value of being a prince, so that one day when he takes over, he'll know what it means to be out there in the world, and he'll know the value of being a prince, and he'll know how to be a real king. So the king takes his son and sends him off to a faraway land, in hope that he will go out there, keep and stay loyal to the values that he was brought up in the palace, and he would come back an educated son. This son travels out, and as life has it, instead of staying loyal to the values that he was brought up on, he got a little distracted. And he got distracted, he forgot about the king, he forgot about the palace, he forgot about his values, and he became a non-educated wild boy. Totally without any structure, without any responsibility, went from one level to the next down to a very low level. One day, as we all have one day in our life when we wake up and we say, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I need to go back home. So the prince travels back home to the palace of the king. He comes, but when he left looking like a prince. But when he came back, his hair was unkempt, tattered clothing, looked like someone that was lost in the forest. And he comes screaming, he wants to go into the palace. The guards look at him and think this guy is nuts, and obviously doing their job, chase him away and throw him away from the palace. Stay away, you're not allowed here. People can only come here if you're invited, respectfully, etc. The child, the prince, is confused. It's his house. It's his father. He starts arguing with them. He starts negotiating with them. He starts rationalizing with them. He starts pleading with them with his emotions. Please allow me to go in. Whatever tactic he used, nothing happened. They would not pay attention to his smart arguments, his emotional arguments. All his pleas went nowhere. As he saw he was helpless, and sometimes when you're helpless, you reach, in English it's called, you reach a bottom. So he cries out from the depth of his heart, Father, Father, save me. And his father, the king, heard that voice and recognized his son's voice, came running out to the street. And sure enough, he sees his son and he embraces his son, and father and son are once united. And the relationship starts to rebuild, and the prince who was lost comes back to his roots and reunites with his father, and eventually becomes the king. So Baal Shem Tov says the same thing happens to each and every one of us Jewish people. God gave us a godly soul, which the godly soul is godly. It's a part of God. And he housed it in a body, a physical body. We come down to this world, so the godly soul wants to stay loyal to God by studying Torah, doing mitzvot, praying, anything to keep that relationship alive. The body has other needs and wants, and initially they're neutral, eating, sleeping, going around, touring, whatever it may be, neutral stuff. And there's a constant conflict. Are we more godly, or do we have to take care of our physical self? Selfless or selfish? What happens to each and every one of us as we go through life, at different points, different levels? We get extremely immersed in this materialistic world, and we forget about God, and we don't look like when we originally left God as a pure soul. What happens on Rosh Hashana? We come to shul. There's prayers, there's Torah study, there's charity. But that's all great. But what will get us to rekindle our relationship with God is when we hear that shofar blowing and we call from the depths of our heart to God, Father, Father, save us. God will reach out and save you. So to answer the question, what should you meditate when you hear the sound of the shofar? Pure and simple. Father, Father, save me. I want to be reunited once with you, and I want my neshama, my godly soul, to rule my life. This week's lesson is dedicated to the memory of Eliyahu Ephraim ben Yosef and Rashi B'Sreb Chaim Meir Halevi. May their souls be elevated for the Torah that we're studying in their memory. Thank you so much for joining us for our weekly Torah lesson. Please join us this week for high holiday services in honor of Rosh Hashana. We have services Wednesday night and Thursday night at 7 o'clock. Thursday and Friday morning, we have a Kabbalah class at 9, followed by services at 10, and followed by a beautiful Kiddush, and we have special programs for the children. Have a happy and healthy, sweet New Year, and a ksiva v'chasima tova.